Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Washington, D.C., it's Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio. QLPOR, as it's widely known, features a bevy of poets, spoken word artists, and live poetry readings with best-selling authors. Your host is Dr. Michael Anthony Ingram.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My very special guest is Teresa E. Gallion. Hello, Teresa. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm good, thank you.
All right, I'm so glad you're with me tonight. Are you ready to begin our poetic journey together?
I think so.
All right. I know you're ready. If anybody's ready, I know you're ready. All right, let's begin. Here we go. What is poetry, Teresa? What is poetry?
You know, I've thought about that on several different occasions, and every time I come up with a different answer. And this afternoon, the answer became, poetry is the song of the inner self, pushing its way into our outer consciousness. It tells the story that it wants to tell in that moment. The story continuously changes as the inner self, being soul, learns and grows from the experiences of the body that it currently resides in. That's what poetry means to me in this moment today.
Tell me more, as a fascinating answer, tell me more about the inner self. I like that. Tell me more. The song of the inner self.
I believe that all of us on planet Earth are souls, and we occupy a body, okay? And we each are eternal souls, and those souls come to Earth to occupy the body, to learn and to grow. And as they learn and grow, they become closer to that divine spark of God or higher power, or whichever way you want to believe or call it. So that is a very personal and very strong spiritual belief that I have, and that is why I always say that I'm spiritual, not religious. Yes,
I like that very much. It's the song of the inner self. That, to me, is just a powerful, that's just so powerful, the song of the inner self. I like that a lot. I really do. Well, let me ask this question then. Why do you believe poetry is important? We know what it is now. Why is it important?
I believe that poetry is important because it's all about feeling, it's about healing, it's about motivating, it's about uplifting, it's about teaching. And all of these things are for the poet, but also for the reader or listener when they're ready to receive. Not everyone is always ready to receive a given message, but that's okay, because I believe that we're all at different places on the pathway, on our journey back home to God. All of that revolves around the journey for me, personally.
All right. So much to take in, so much to think about. Well, let me ask this question. What are some of the predominant themes of your work? What do you talk about? What do you write about?
I guess a lot of my poetry is spiritual and has a spiritual undertone. So there's a lot of themes of spirituality, but there are also themes of nature, and nature is spiritual for me also, and also very sensual, okay? And all of those themes revolve in and out of my poetry. And underlying all of that, okay, for me, is love in all forms, okay, whether that be romantic love, friendship love, love for a tree, love for a stone, love for a river, okay? It embodies all of that.
Please share a poem.
Okay, I want to share first a poem about rivers because of the fact that I've only been back from Egypt a good month now, and it had such an impact on me that I'm still reeling in Egypt in my head, in my dreams, and in my reflection. So last week when I was walking on the river that's on the Bosque here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, this is what came to me. It's called River Reflections. My walking meditation draws me to the spirit of the Rio Grande, soothing in the morning light. I feel regal after the benediction of an Egyptian massage. No words to adequately describe the ancient hold of energy of temple ruins and tombs unearthed in all their glory. Tease my many lifetimes sitting here beside the river. I am remarkably blessed here in the Bosque with a wave of New Mexico love light surrounding me. Gaze the eloquence of delightful cottonwood as it sings in green lyrics all around the river and me. I could shout my gratitude over and over again, and that would not be sufficient to express my joy. To be home in my beloved New Mexico, reflecting on my journey. I touch the Rio Grande, step out of my body into the Nile River. I feel the weight of 4,000 years speak to me in tongues I can understand when it tells me I am still here. Mankind may pollute and abuse me, cause a temporary flu, but cannot destroy me. I will be here when all the pathetic souls of earth leave the planet, for I am eternal. I am the key of life. I am the fluid of life. I am the goddess of energy. I will survive another 4,000 years. I will still be here. My soul feels the cold vigor of those years, making me tremble in the magnitude of those words. It is the power of telling a story in generational ways as we repeat the cycles of life and death, and the river still flows. Coming back into my body, I sit on the Rio Grande, run my fingers across the water, feel the connection between the Nile and the Rio Grande and the essence of a river's flow. Thank you.
Wow. That was absolutely beautiful. Give me a moment to allow it to settle into my body. Just give me one moment. How does a poem start for you, Teresa? With an idea, a form, or an image?
Actually, it depends. It could be any one of those, but I believe for me it's predominantly the idea. And quite often the idea comes from, it's predominantly an image is what I meant to say, but the image comes from an idea, okay? And other times an idea creates an image for me, so it can go both ways. Plus, when I am in the woods, because that is my sacred temple, words come to me, phrases come to me, things come to me. So that's why I generally will have a journal or something in my hand, because I will start writing. And sometimes that writing is very automatic, and sometimes it is very difficult. It just depends on where I am at that particular moment of time in my life, as I continue to evolve. So I would have to say that it's predominantly idea.
All right. So let's go back to that particular piece of poetry. You shared that you were recently in Egypt and it's still percolating in your system, which is understandable. Let's talk about the purpose of that poem. What came out of that poem for you?
The power of nature, the power of planet Earth, the power of souls to keep evolving time and over time again, because I believe in reincarnation, okay? Mm-hmm. So I believe that we keep coming back, and the river is always there. And it then made me think about the fact that we think in terms of the United States as being young, but it's not. The United States has been here, but of America, the American land soil has been here. It wasn't called the United States. It's been here for thousands of years also, okay? So you have these rivers. And it then made me start thinking about the power of rivers, that no matter what we do to those rivers, they still flow. Even if they go underground, they still flow. And I was so overwhelmed by just standing in the Nile River, cold as hell, but still just overwhelming, thinking about 1,000 years ago, because that's mostly what we were looking at, history of 4,000 years of pharaohs and queens and their gods and goddesses, you know, all floating down this river. And here I stand in this lifetime, and I'm thinking about that. Okay? And then it came all the way home with me. And then I'm sitting by the Rio Grande River in Albuquerque, and I began to feel closer to that river. I began to appreciate that river more than I had ever appreciated it before. So all of this is still rolling in my head. I cannot. I need to get to the woods. I haven't gotten to the woods since I get home. I need to get to the woods so I can come down, because I'm still reeling in all of the amazing moments that I experienced when I was in Egypt, as well as in Jordan, because I went to Jordan also. So I'm still reeling in all of that. I'm still writing, and the writing is just wow.
Well, I would be remiss if I did not ask you, what do you feel that you learned about yourself? What did you learn about yourself from your trip? And how will your writing change as a consequence?
Oh, I learned that what I'm learning and continue to learn is that I'm still growing. I'm still expanding, okay? That is the main thing. And that I'm learning to more and more the importance of living in gratitude, because when I live in a state of gratitude, I'm always happy. And yet still, even to this point, after 70-plus years, sometimes if I'm too happy, it's frightening, because I'm like, oh, my, I'm too happy. What's going to happen? Yes. It still pop up in my head.
How will your writing change now after this trip?
I don't know that. I don't know that my writing will change necessarily, but continue to evolve at the spiritual level, because that's where I'm writing right now. Okay, but that could change. Because, like I said, it just depends on where I am in my life. That's where I am right now. So right now, my writing is going deeper, you know. And just to get ahead of you ask that question quite often, you know. I don't remember exactly the question, but it evolved around the fact that, I can't think of it right now. My mind just went blank. You may even ask it. And
That's all right. That's all right. Well, what I'd like you to do at this point is to please favor us with another poem.
Okay. I'm going to read, the second one I'm going to read, again, is when I was in Jordan, we went to Mount Nebo, and that is the place where Moses presumably was, okay? So, but they don't know exactly where up there he was, but he was up on Mount Nebo. Very beautiful place. And there was a sandstorm that day. So, I mean, I gave me a major sinus attack. Still being up there was kind of this amazing feeling, as if you may have been here before. So I wrote a poem reflecting on Mount Nebo. Standing on the top of Mount Nebo, surrounded by the strain of a sandstorm, I cannot see the Dead Sea. I see the spirits of the pharaohs, images of their gods and goddesses, and I see Moses looking into the promised land. Souls on the color spectrum parade across my visual bridge from the ancient lands. I feel confused until spirit brushes my face with wind currents and my ears hear, oh, my souls are broken, stroking massive egos, drowning in pride, and carry material trash to an afterlife that does not accept gold nor silver charms. Only light bodies may enter the heavenly kingdom. We, poor Homo sapiens, do not learn. We still hold on to the sorcerer's greed. Thank you.
Wow. You know, there is something amazing about your voice. The way you share, the way you speak, the way that you emote, in a sense. What is the relationship between your speaking voice and your written voice?
That was a question I had a feeling you might ask, and I thought about that. I've always been a ham. My mother said I was born a ham. I love to talk.
Okay.
So I love to talk.
Right.
So even from, she told me as early as age 3, I was reciting Easter speeches that were at least 30 or 40 lines at that age. And very proud of my little self, you know. And then I went into grammar school, and I was the one who was always willing to read. A lot of the kids did not want to read, but I wanted to read. I love reading. And I love reading to people. And so my mom also used to have me read to her. So I think I learned the animation and the drama from learning and practicing. I had so much practice reading to her. And a lot of times the kids would say, please read in my place so I don't have to read, that kind of thing. And I used to tell them, okay, but I get the candy afterwards, you know, being a little brat. And then I got in high school, and I got introduced to Shakespeare in my senior year. And the teacher said to me, grabbed me at the class, she says, you are amazing. You should go be in acting. I said, I don't know. I'm just 17 years old. I don't know. Because I was reading Shakespeare, you know, in class. And I did. Kids were impressed. And so that, of course, had a major impact on me. So that's why I say I've been a ham all my life. And so as a result, I've never been afraid of reading. And so I always, just without even thinking about it, probably read a little bit more dramatically.
All right.
I should say that the reading comes alive when I read it as opposed to reading on the page, that you get a different feeling if you're writing it.
Yes. Well, was there a specific early experience where you learned that poetic language had power? Does anything stand out?
Yeah, I go back to the Shakespeare in senior class. Before, as a little kid, I didn't know. But in high school, I realized that, oh, wow, this is powerful, because the kids were telling me, you know, how great I was, you know, so that was feeding the ego, super feeding the ego at that time. Saying, I like hearing you. I like hearing you read. So I think that's probably the major moment was then. The other time was later, much later in life, when if I was reading at an open mic or a feature reader, and a stranger would come up and say, you know, I really enjoyed your reading, or I really enjoyed that poem. That solidified the power of words, because I already knew words have power.
Wow. That's so nice. Share another poem, please, Teresa.
Okay. One more from Egypt. This one is called The Blue Nile. Peace flows over me like a soothing waterfall. My heart expands and love floods my bones. The ecstasy makes me float like a goddess. I cannot pull the words from my mouth to capture the feelings invading my brainstem. Perhaps silence is the best response. Gazing the first light of morning streaking across the blue Nile River, the inner pictures of my soul are not ready to release. They tease me with no mercy, and I kneel and bend my knees on this sacred neck in praise of this river. Living in the moment is all that is necessary. I will never see the Nile again in this lifetime. So savor the endless love flowing through this morning and hold close my Turkish coffee. Thank you.
Turkish coffee. Wow. You know, all great writers, Teresa.
Strong coffee. Let me tell you, you want to wake up in the morning and drink that Turkish coffee. Oh my God. It was good though.
You should have brought me back some, Teresa. You should have brought me back some Turkish coffee. All right, here we go. All great writers have great writing influence. And you mentioned Shakespeare. I'm not sure what there was an influence about, but you mentioned Shakespeare. Who are some of yours, and what makes them great in your eyes?
Okay. I kind of cheated on this because I had a feeling you'd ask me. You know, because you're right. I've listened to the interviews. I haven't thought about all the questions you could ask because you asked some tough questions. You asked a lot of questions. This is what I didn't think about because there are so
I'm going to trip you up a couple of times, so don't be ready.
There's so many, but I had to focus in on the ones that are most pervasive for me. And, of course, that becomes Rumi and Hafiz, okay? Mm-hmm. I wrote a whole book, Contemplation in the High Desert, in 4-line verse, which I refer to as quarters, based on reading Rumi, okay? And then there's Hafiz. Hafiz can make you laugh, can make you cry, can make you sing, can make you dance. He's a trickster, the jokester, the spiritual being from another world. But I just love Hafiz, and he has a major influence quite often on my writing. I go read Hafiz and I start writing, and when I'm at home a lot of times. And then there's Pablo Neruda. I love Pablo Neruda's love poems. You know, I'm just going to quote one line.
Yes, please.
I want to fill my mouth with your name. And I'm like, yes.
That is beautiful. I like that too.
Okay. Then there's Emily Dickinson. I don't know. I just like Emily. And Marge Piercy I mentioned because years ago when I was in college, for some reason I started reading Marge, and I just kept reading Marge and Marge's work. And when I thought about it, it's because I love her metaphors. They go so deep. So I like her a lot. And then contemporary, that is in the present moment, alive today, right now, where I can touch them, is two people who are very important to me, but their work has a big influence on my writing. One is William S. Peters Sr. William is my publisher, but he is an absolutely amazing writer, and he writes spiritual writing. He does a lot of spiritual writing. He writes all kinds of things, but I love his spiritual writing. And I have several of his books, and a lot of times I'll go to one in particular called The Vine Keeper still, and it starts me back on my spiritual pathway. And finally, Mary December. Mary December is a poet here in New Mexico. Poet, author, art scholar, all that other crap and stuff, excuse me. But most important for me, she's a poet. And her work has a major influence on me because for me, she's a master wordsmith, and she captures you in the first line of her verse.
Wow.
Always for me. And I am just fascinated by that, you know. And I'll go back to her work quite often, her and William in particular, and Hafiz. Those are the three current ones. When I'm traveling, I usually take them with me. They didn't know that, see, but now they do.
Now they do. Well,
you know,
if you had to pick a favorite poet to serve as your mentor, Could you name one?
It would have to be Hafiz, but he's gone.
All right.
Hands down, it would have to be Hafiz. I mean, because he sings to me. I mean, Hafiz is something else. Let me tell you.
So, Teresa, what moves you to write a poem? What is the core impulse that moves you to write a poem?
What moves me to write a poem?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know. I just, my muse just pops up and just compels me to write. So if I refuse, my muse says, put your butt down and put your pen in your hand and write. And I don't write all the time, but then there are times when I'm writing for days. So, you know, it just varies. I don't know. It's just something deep within me. And that's soul, I think, working with me, saying it's time for you to address this issue, or it's time for you to talk about this. It's time for you to look at this, you know. It's time for you to revisit this. You know, sometimes we suppress things that we don't want to deal with. And I think poets often deal with that in writing.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I know I'm guilty of that. Because I write a lot of stuff that I don't share.
Well, we're going to talk about all of that when we return from this break. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be right back. All right. Back. I am Michael Anthony Ingram. I'm here with Teresa E. Gallion. Teresa, are you with me?
I'm with you.
All right. I'm so glad you're with me, too. Makes me so happy. Please share another poem.
Okay. This one is called Come to Me. Come to me slowly and gently with your heart in your hands. Come to me with intentions that make me bend my knees for you. Come to me with passion like a spirited black stallion. Come to me exposing your nakedness, wearing the blood you shed in my name. Come to me with humility flooding your eyelids. Come to me with a song on your lips that praises my beauty. It is not too late to change your ways. It may influence my wrath. You may avoid coming when guilt and shame holds your throat. You may come and stand against my breast, believing you will get away with murder. But you will come as you must, and I will be unforgiving. You have abused me for the last time, and your day of reckoning waits. You bend your knees in sorrow, beg forgiveness, and I will crush you in perfect justice, for I am Mother Nature. Thank you.
Wow. Mother Nature. Let's imagine for a moment that a poem is like a cake, all right? What would be some of the prevalent ingredients that go into the concoction we call a poem or a cake? Don't we go into that? What would you stir it up with?
Oh, wow.
I told you I would get you.
I knew you were going to ask something I hadn't thought about. Let's see.
Okay. Just roll with it. Roll with it.
I guess the main main ingredient would be nature, a bowl of nature.
All right.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the wine of the river to stir all of the beautiful things within nature, the flowers, the trees, the shrubs, and all that other good stuff. And then we would sprinkle that with the power of spirituality so that the spiritual fairies would sink in and make that food rise and become a healing broth for everyone.
Oh, I like that. I love that. You don't need to write it down and create a poem out of that one. Maybe you already have. But I really like that.
I will remember it later. That just came off the top of my head, okay? That's the way my mind
well, I like that.
On the top of my head a lot of times. I should not. Things that are right on the top of my head a lot of times I should not repeat. So I'm learning not to, but I just let that flow.
That flow too. I like it. It's beautiful. So let me focus. They say, Teresa, that to see the world with complete honesty, one should look to comedians, musicians, artists, and poets. What do you think emerges naturally from your work? What emerges from you?
Feeling and emotion emerges naturally from me. I'm a very deep person, and so I think that can be good and that can be bad for you because sometimes people cannot deal with deep feeling and deep emotion, and I can go there and I can go deep. And again, and in that arena also, I'm learning that I have to work harder on observing and respecting the law of silence and not going too far all the time. But that's the major thing.
All right. Do you feel or think that someone can be called a poet if they don't feel strong emotions?
Well, see, I just don't believe that a human doesn't feel emotion, okay? They may suppress or hide it, but I believe that all humans' emotions, whether they express those emotions or not, and for whatever reason, may not. So if they're not able to express your emotion, it may be difficult for them to get something on the page, okay? Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if we look at it from another perspective, perhaps getting something on the page will pull that emotion that they're suppressing out. That's just my perspective on it.
All right. I understand. Please share another poem.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to do a poem from Center Love because. And this one has nothing to do with the type of love most people would immediately go to. This is called Red Rock Love. Red rock spirals, buttes, and mesas make a call to my soul. Lead me to an abyss of uncontrollable bliss. Only my awakened spirit can hold the feelings as I drop to my knees. Is this heaven beneath my feet? High on a drug called landscape, what can I do but surrender as my eyes scan the grandeur of the beloved's canvas? Is this real or illusion teasing my eyelids, arousing my senses? This drug called landscape stings to my lifeblood. I cannot resist. My legs ache with ecstasy. Let me embrace this red rock Eden and fall in love again. Thank you. That was the first time that I saw the red rocks of Sedona. That's what it did to me.
Wow. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, Teresa, back to back. And I'd like you to think about them. All right, are we ready?
Okay.
All right. Does it hurt you to write poetry? If not, why not?
No, it doesn't hurt me to write poetry. I think, for me, writing poetry is healing, because I think about some 40-odd years ago when I was writing in college. 40-some years ago. That's a long time, another lifetime. I was writing down the pain. And at the time of me writing down the pain, I didn't realize until later in retrospect that was very healing. And it wasn't that it hurt that I was writing it, but it helped to release the pain, release the hurt, okay? And so what I've learned over time, a lot of times when something is really bothering me, if I write, it helps to get me out of it or lift me up, okay? So for me, no, it's not.
All right, all right. Here we go. Here's the next one. Can you love a poem that says what you don't want to hear? Talk to me. I have to say yes if you're ready to receive. If you're ready to acknowledge whatever it is, okay? Because it's more or less dealing with something perhaps that you don't want to deal with. You may not be ready to deal with, but Spirit has decided it's time for you to deal with it, you know? So I would have to say yes. All right. Here we go. Could you write a poem that says what you prefer not to say?
Say that again now.
Could you write a poem that says what you would prefer not to say?
Could I write a poem that says? Well, yeah. I could do that. Those are the ones that a lot of times. I can. Those are the ones that a lot of times I will not share.
All right.
Because either I'm not ready to share either one. I may not be ready to share that with the world, or I may be writing about someone who I don't want to tell them openly, or I don't want to hurt them, and they don't need to know.
And they don't need to know.
You know,
right? I understand that.
They don't need to know.
Yes.
Okay. But it helps me to get it out, because once you get it out of your system and onto the page, you release it, and you can do what I call the ritual burning. You at a campsite. You let it out, and you burn it. That is a way of letting go.
Yes, it is.
Now, that being said, you can still pick something back up again after you let it go. That's part of the process of evolving spiritually, is that it keeps coming back to you until you are truly ready to let it go. And one day you let it go again and again and again, and you let it go a final time, and then it doesn't come back anymore. You know you've healed from it.
Wow. Nice. Well, speaking of poetry, speaking of feeling hurt or not feeling hurt, have you ever been frightened or humbled by a poem that you've written?
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever been frightened by one I've been written. I would have to think about that a while, and nothing is coming to mind right now.
All right.
I have been humbled by some things that I've written over time. And I was trying to think of a poem right now, and I can't. My mind just went blank. But I'm almost certain that I've written something that humbled me. I mean, the first poem I read to you, you could say humble me, and that was the one I wrote about the two rivers, the river reflection.
Yes. And why did it humble you? I want to know. Why did it humble you? I want to know. Why?
Because of the power, okay, of nature and the power of the river. That, to me, is humbling. So that's why I happen to just want to think of that. The power of nature, just the sheer power of nature is humbling. So I guess in a way, a lot of times when I write nature pieces or I speak on behalf of nature, that's humbling because I recognize that nature is so important and is so powerful to me. And a lot of times people will say, are you a political poet? And I say, absolutely not. And then I write these nature poems, and they say that's very political. And I say, well, perhaps it is to you, but not to me. It's just simply a message going out to the world and to say, these are warning signs that you're not paying attention to humans. You know, nobody, absolutely nobody can stay alive on the planet if we destroy the planet, Earth.
Well, would you be willing to share that first piece again or share another piece that revolves around nature? I'd love to hear it. The importance of nature.
Oh, my goodness. I'm trying to think. You know, I got so much poetry here. You know, that's that. Yeah, let's do this one right here. Let's do this one.
Okay.
This one, I love reading this one. It's nature, and it kind of has a political overtone to it too. It's called Sequoia Great One. Over 100 steps down to Sherman, one of the oldest living things in America, a crowd of peepers walk beside me in a river of happy energy. We all reach the bottom step, wander along the paved pathway, and there he stands, a few hundred stretches into the sky, a giant, sexy round trunk, fenced in so he cannot be hugged to death. There is an orderly line waiting for a turn at the wooden fence to take a picture with Sherman. So un-American. Such order is a massive tourist experience. What would it be like just before sunrise? Everyone is in love today with magnificence and the desire to get as close as possible to Sherman before walking the Congressional Trail. My thoughts rub the guilt of desire to touch Sherman and wander into the awesomeness of nature. Then I ask myself, why in the hell would someone insult nature by calling this tree General Sherman and the trail Congressional? I look up, smile, and whisper, hello, Great One. Thank you.
Wow.
And that's the Sherman tree in Sequoia National Park. You have to be standing under that tree to appreciate the magnificence of nature. At that point,
yes,
it is so huge.
I can understand. Wow. You know, Teresa, you travel the world. So much is happening in the world, good, bad, or indifferent. It's happening every single day, every single minute, to be quite honest. What do you view as being the role of a poet in modern-day society?
I feel that every poet has to sound an alarm in a way they feel necessary. I would not tell anyone how to write anything because I do not accept people telling me what to write. But I feel that there's a need for each poet to write what they feel is necessary to write in terms of messages out to the world. And hopefully some of those messages will get to ears that are ready to hear and to listen. I always tell people I'm on that last part of my journey before I translate to the next level. And it is the next generation that is going to inherit everything, okay? And I'd like to read the poem to you of my message, if that's okay.
All right. Yes, please.
It's called The Peaceful Realm. You cannot reach the peaceful country with a heart filled with hate and bullets aimed at your fellow man. You cannot reach the peaceful country throwing war stickers at everyone who does not subscribe to your logic sphere. You cannot reach the peaceful country chasing those who are different from you and burning their feet. You cannot reach the peaceful country to join in harmony with all mankind until you learn to forgive yourself and others. You cannot reach the peaceful country until you surrender all negative baggage and open your arms to the broken. You cannot reach the peaceful country until all your ties with negative karma are cut. No one is exempt from the universe of justice. You may come to the peaceful country when you are ready to bend knees in love and wrap arms in harmony. Thank you.
Wow. Just in a moment. Teresa, what do you hope readers get from encountering your poems?
I hope that it will touch them in some way that will give them a lift up or give them a healing message or give them a motivational message to do something that they need to do. But that it will touch them in some way, okay? Mm-hmm. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Yes. But that if it touches them in some way, that way will allow them to do what? To move forward, to expand their existence, what? Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, well, touch them in a way that will help them, move forward wherever they are in their life. Because I believe that we are all on the path, on our way back home to God. Also, okay? But we're at different places on that path, okay? And that's okay. Mm-hmm. And so I always hope that maybe they will find something in my words that will help them as they're walking the path, okay? To help them relieve something that is bothering them, or help them walk better, or help them to feel better about it. But will help them move forward, okay, in a positive way.
Yes. You know, if you were a poet born during different era, when, where would you have wanted to exist?
I thought about that one for a while, okay?
Did you? Synchronicity.
Your last one, well, like you said, I've listened to a lot of interviews and I thought about that one, you know? And I finally came up with two. One being that I thought, I would like to have been an ancient ninja warrior.
Ancient ninja warrior. You got to tell me about that one.
With perfect discipline in the martial arts, because I personally feel that is very spiritual, and I think that would have been quite wonderful. I mean, you would use it only if you had to in negative ways, but generally speaking, the ninja perfectly disciplined, at least on the reading that I've done.
Right. All right.
Okay. And the other one.
All right.
The other one, of course, doesn't relate to planet Earth, but I thought that it would be wonderful to have been an elf in another land, another plane of existence, because I like fantasy.
Now, you didn't say be an elf, E-L-F. You said...
E-L-F. Elf.
Did you really?
An elf in the land of the elves. Yes, that's
Teresa, do you think you were meant to be a poet? Talk to me. Tell me everything.
Well, I really do believe, and people, I'm kind of revealing a little bit more about myself than I normally do here.
All right.
I really do believe that I was a poet and philosopher in a past life, okay?
Okay.
And as I have grown and matured in this lifetime, because that past life has been influencing my present ever since birth, okay? And so for that reason, yes.
All right. Well, what have you learned? What has surprised you most about being a poet?
For me personally, is that sometimes it flows so easily. Sometimes it's almost like automatic writing. And when that happens, that does surprise me. Because most of the time I'm struggling trying to get it out because it's just all over the place. It's crazy. It's raggedy. It's wicked. It's whatever. But sometimes it just flows. And then I look at it and I thought, my goodness, did you write that?
All right. How do you feel about the whole question around editing? As I've shared many times, that some people view writing as being a living creature. You've heard me say it many times over the course of this program, over the time that you've been listening. How does editing fit into your paradigm?
If it doesn't come out fully formed, as I was just speaking of, just automatically, it's like, wow. I tend to edit, and I tend to edit words more so than phrases. I substitute words in because a lot of times when I'm writing, the word I want isn't there. I put the word in, and later I go back looking for what feels like the right word for me, okay? And I edit phrases. I edit words and phrases a lot, okay?
All right.
So I do that. I mean, I know some people may not believe in that, but I do edit, okay? But occasionally I don't because, like I said, every now and then it comes out fully formed. And that's
it does. Well, let's take a brief break, and we'll be right back. We are back. I am Michael Anthony Ingram. I'm here with the incomparable Teresa E. Gallion. Teresa, are you there?
Yes. I am here with you.
I'm so glad you're with me. You make me happy. All right. This is a call-in show, as you know, and there is a caller on the line. And I'd like to bring this person on. Hopefully they'll want to ask you a question. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Area code 856. The first three numbers are 491. You're on the air with Teresa. Good evening. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. Okay.
Yes.
This is Bill. Yes, this is Bill. Hi, T. How you doing?
Hey, sweetheart. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, if I was in company when you made that comment earlier, I would have blushed if I could. It almost brought me to tears. But thank you for that humbling comment.
You're most welcome.
You know, I mean, so far, great show. You know, I have nothing but love for your poetry. You know, otherwise we wouldn't have published it, right? But I guess the only question I have a couple of questions. One, when is your next book coming out about your travels? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then two, if you had a crystal ball and you were looking into the future, what would be your wishes for your poetry, and what do you see your poetry accomplishing?
Oh, wow. Very nice question. I'm going to steal that one. That was great. I like that. Oh.
You would have to come and ask a tough question, but I love you anyway. I'm working on my next book. But, you know, I'm retired, so I don't feel compelled to have it done in a specific time. But the next one is going to be more spiritually oriented. I don't know that it will necessarily be of all my travels, but some of my travel work will be in there. But yeah, I have quite a bit of work. I have enough to produce a book yet, but I'm not ready to release yet. The second question, crystal ball. Oh, you all are wearing me out. You know, I want my poetry to be my legacy.
Okay.
So I would like to be somewhere in the heavenly plains, another lifetime, and see some youngster reading my work and feeling inspired like I was when I first read Emily Dickinson, you know, after several hundred years, right? I would love to see, I would love for that to happen. So I would love for my poetry to go in that particular direction. And generally speaking, you know, I'm going to write no matter what, but I would hope that I would be just like every other poet who's gone on, glory, and someone will pick it up and say, I like this. For whatever reason. And for me, that would be sufficient. That would be sufficient.
And I have one last question. I'm going to put you on the spot with this one. I know
I like you already, Bill.
Years,
I like you. Put her on the spot. I like that.
I know that for years, you just spoke about legacy. And I guess this is a multifaceted question. You speak of legacy, but I know over the years you have been very involved in Albuquerque and surrounding area poetry scenes. Everything from spoken word to workshops to, you know, readings and book signings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know that you introduced me at one time to a dynamic young man who you had some impetus with in reference to his poetry. You promoted him and what have you. But tell us a little bit about some of your interactions with other young poets that have inspired you or that you have inspired, where you have taken and put your hand on them to help give guidance.
Great question.
Well, I have to admit, I haven't been doing much of that lately, particularly since the pandemic and even before the pandemic, because, you know, I've been traveling so much. There's been one or two younger poets that I've sat down with and actually talked to them about their work and where they were going. That would be the extent, in reality, of what I've done, but I haven't done anything major at all. And now that you bring it up, I'm thinking, you know, I probably should be doing more of that, but I have not been. But I have sat down with a couple of younger poets. But in the last couple of years, I haven't even been going or attending any of the readings for the younger poets.
Fair enough.
You know, Teresa, I want to share.
I want to say, I just want to let you know, just so you know, that over the years you have been very inspiring to me as well. You know, not only with your travels, but with your poetry and with that sisterhood spirit of yours. So as a younger poet, you know, I just want to let you know that, you know, this is one young man you have inspired.
Thank you.
Well, I was going to share. Let me jump in here for a second. Let me jump in. I am the host. Let me jump in. I wanted to say, Teresa, don't devalue what you have done. As Bill just said, you've probably influenced people that you'll never know.
Yep, absolutely.
That's all I wanted to say.
And that's one of the things with poets. is that, as a poet, and Teresa, you can attest to this, many times years will go by and someone that you never knew, like the gentleman said, someone you never knew, said, I remember back in 1972 or 1988, you wrote this poem I read, and it helped change my life. And you didn't even know this person even read you, because, not everybody, makes a comment or hits like on Facebook or a blog site after reading your work. And I find a lot more people read our work than we can acknowledge.
That is true. Did you hear that, Teresa? Did you take it in?
Oh, yeah, I hear him. I know him well. I know him very well.
All right. Well, I can tell he's a fan. Well, Bill, thank you for calling in, all right?
Well, I thank you for having me, and you're doing a great job, and keep her in line,
I will. Well, if I don't, then you will, all right? All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Teresa, favor us with a poem.
Okay. Is this the last one?
It's we're getting there, Teresa. Don't move too quickly. We're getting there. Go ahead. Don't shut it down too quick, Teresa. I know you need to go. All right.
I was going to read this one last, but I'll read it now.
All right.
It's called Woman of Value. And I was thinking about Egypt even before I went to Egypt, because I wrote this poem a few years ago. So Egypt is in my past life somewhere. But anyway, it's called Woman of Value. If the Egyptians had not denied Nefertiti as a possible pharaoh, we might have missed the calligraphy that tells her story from the walls of ancient ruins. She still intrigues in the 21st century. I feel good in my retirement as I stretch beyond my comfort zone, discover the inner bliss of conquering fear. Like Nefertiti, I am powerful, and it flows from deep within me. I am made from the experiences of many lifetimes, recognize so much progress on my journey, feel my own inner strength, and know freedom like an eagle in flight. My season to blossom awakens my spirit. I face the forest, smile, and trees wink at me in admiration. My heart swells with gratitude for blessings that float in my river of life. My garden bears fruit from many years of toil, labor, sweat, rejection, pain, and suffering. I rise up strong from negative ashes, static radiance, with the vigor of a woman of value. Thank you.
Ooh. Wow. Wow. You have another caller, Teresa. You have another caller. Are you ready?
Okay.
Area code 505-505-720. You're on the air with Teresa. Good evening.
Hi.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes.
Hi. Okay, because I was listening also on the Facebook page and so also on my phone. So I'm really enjoying this show so much. I've enjoyed your other shows, Michael. But hi, Teresa. It's Mary, December.
I know who it is.
Now this is a pleasant surprise. I've been thinking about you. So I'm glad you called in.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is just wonderful. I'm loving hearing your interview and with Teresa as well, interspersed with her poetry. And so I also wanted to thank you for the lovely tribute that you gave to me. It means so much to me. And I also wanted to just say a couple of things. One is I'm really thrilled to hear your poems about your travels, because I already know you as such a very deeply spiritual poet that always takes things beyond the veil or from what we see, and you tie that into nature so beautifully. I love all of that. But travel poems, I'm feeling like I get to travel at least in two ways. One is, though, I get to hear about places that I probably will never go. I mean, you're so well traveled. I'll probably never ever travel as much as you have and will. So I get to see those places, and then I get to also, in a physical kind of way, but then I also be with your imagery and so forth. So I get to experience that way. But then I also get to experience the spiritual effect of those places. So I really wanted to thank you for that. I'm really excited about these new poems coming up. And then the other thing I wanted to say is that and I know that Michael was asking this earlier about your reading voice, and I've always said this, is just absolutely moving and phenomenal. And to me, and you were talking about your poetry being a legacy, which obviously on the page in a book, it definitely deserves that. But it's wonderful when you do recordings, because also hearing you read it, the way you read your poetry, it's like you're honoring the poem, like it's with so much respect and love. Like you're loving that, you're loving this experience with the poem. So anyway, your voice is amazing. So I just wanted to make those comments, and thank you so much, both of you, for this beautiful show that you're sharing with us.
All right. Well, thank you so much for calling. Teresa, any comments to your friend Mary? Any thoughts?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you. It means a lot to me.
Well, it means a lot to me, too. Okay.
All right, then.
Yes,
thank you so much, Mary.
Admiration going here. So.
I like hearing that. That makes me happy, too.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you both so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. All right. Just a couple more questions, Teresa, and we'll end this night on a high note. All right? Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready.
You've written three books, the latest of which is Scent of Love. All right? Does knowing that your poems are published and out there in the world validate your being a poet, or are you content knowing that they're out of your system?
I don't know that I don't know that I can say that it validates it, but it makes me feel good. Okay?
Okay.
And I'm pleased to get it out of my body, so to speak, and onto the blank page. And that it is there available for someone to read should they so desire. And it will go on and on, like I said before, and it can become my legacy. Okay? And so that is important to me. I don't know that that's necessarily validation, but I guess you could perceive it that way. For me, it is an honor and also a blessing is what it is for me to have it hit the page and eventually someone appreciate it. That's
beautiful. That's beautiful. I like that. All right, one more question, I'm going to let you go. All right.
Okay.
If you had to choose, maybe three more, if you had to choose a spirit animal, what would it be?
It would be a deer or elk.
Tell me
I
more.
love those animals.
Tell me. Why?
I think they are just beautiful and eloquent animals, even though they are subject to so many different prey. And I just love running into them in the forest because I think they move with such grace and eloquence. And I love seeing grace and eloquence, not only in people but also in the animal kingdom. So
all right, very nice.
I just think it would be so neat to be one, even though you could.
All right. All right, Teresa. Where can readers find your work? Where can we find it?
You can go straight to my publisher, who you just spoke to. That was William, Bill, just Bill. I call him William because I love the name William. Is innerchildpress.com. Inner, that's INNERCHILDPRESS, all together. Innerchildpress.com. And
all
if
right.
they forget, just plug in his name, William S. Peters, and everything Peters will come up and you can get to it. You can also get to it by going to my website, which takes you essentially to him. And my website is...
Wait a minute. That was the William S. Peters that you talked about earlier in the program?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Very nice. Hello, William S. Peters.
My bad, my new brother's publisher. That was him.
All right.
That's who you were talking to.
All right. I like that. Yes.
Yeah, young man has published 40+ books. He's amazing.
Oh, wow.
Like every single day of his life. I'm impressed. But anyway, you can get there that way. The other place is teresagallion.yolasite.com. That's teresagallion.yolasite.com. That's at the bottom of my bio. If anybody is listening and looked at that, at the very bottom of the bio is the website.
All right. So readers can stay in touch through your website. How else can they stay in touch? Where else are you located?
They can stay in touch through my website. All they got to do is send me a message. I'll get it. Okay.
And you're on Facebook
website
as well, right? You're on Facebook as well.
I'm on Facebook as well, so they can friend me if they want to, and they can connect with me. They can connect with me that way also. Yes. If they like to watch, follow people traveling, they'll like that because when I travel, I do post pictures of my travels.
Yeah, she posts a lot of pictures, and they're beautiful. I felt like I was on the Nile River with you. Okay, Teresa, two things. One, what's next for you? You kind of talked about it briefly. You're working on another book. It's not going to be available anytime soon, I'm guessing, right? But you're working on another one.
Maybe in the next year.
Okay. All right. Okay. I want you, if you don't mind, I know you're ready to go, but I want you to end with one more poem for me, please. Can we hear your voice one more time before you go? I'd love that.
Okay.
You're a nice way to end.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, I'll read this poem because this kind of goes back to my childhood. It's called Cultural Fragments. Running up and down the black tar of summer, barely 6, just finished first grade, ready to embrace a southern summer. Hot and humid sweat beads match the giggles of simple child's play. Marbles, spinning tops, checkers, dominoes, stomachs full of grits and eggs, children of poverty, rich in love and spirit, sheltered from the real world as much as possible. Loss of innocence is harsh sometimes, a picture of strange fruit hanging from a tree. God only knows where the boys got the picture, but we all know it is forbidden anyone what we saw as we cried under the acorn tree. And the afternoon shower comes, teasing the red clay dirt, dull, sweet scent pulling you. Mama's not looking. Sneak up the hill for a taste. Before Papa tells, those kids gone up the hill, and you know they eating that red clay dirt. Thank you.
Wow. I don't want the program to end. I know we both need to go. We both need to go. But I want to thank you so much. To me, Teresa, you are a gift from the Creator to the poetic universe. And I want to thank you for spending time with me, sharing your work, and uplifting and healing people who are listening that you may never know. But your words touch. They're extremely powerful. And I'm just so glad that I know you.
Thank you so much I am honored, I really am, to have been invited and to be a part of this reading series. It is a wonderful series, and I am listening to a lot of the interviews, sometimes when they occur and other times later. So tell your friends, they can listen to this later. It's recorded. They can listen to this later. But yes, I'm truly honored to have spent this time with you. Thank you so much.
Oh, I don't know what else to say, good people, other than good night. And as I share with you every week, let poetry ring somewhere throughout the land. All right, everyone. Good night. Be safe and take care of each other. All right.
Quintessential Listening, Poetry Online Radio, is available on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. You can also check out the website at qlpor.com.